In the year 2149, planet Earth is a desolate place, scarred by the aftermath of wars and widespread disorder. The consequences of a relentless chemical war have drastically reduced the global population. 9 years later, we find ourselves in a time where only a few have survived. One of these survivors is Darwin, who has taken refuge in a bunker, one of the last safe havens for those who escaped the worst. Darwin maintains a fragile connection with the outside world through computers in his makeshift home. Every morning, he activates his computer, hoping for news from his mother. However, the response is always the same. She's still sleeping. Driven by the desire to connect, he sends messages to her, even though he is often interrupted by memories that distract him and pull him away from the virtual reality. These flashes from the past remind him of the days before isolation, and occasionally, he allows himself a break for a quick ultrasonic bath. Most of his time is spent in front of the screen, where he virtually extracts minerals from Earth's surface, vital for building stronger shelters. Virtual news updates reinforce the absolute prohibition against leaving the bunker due to the contaminated and dangerous air that still blankets the globe. In rare moments of relaxation, Darwin selects his lunch through an automated system on his computer, receiving his meal quickly and efficiently, reinforcing his trust in technology, his only constant companion. His daily routine is a cycle of work, eating, and playing video games until it's time to rest. However, the games fail to provide true relaxation or escape from the emptiness he feels at the end of each session. Darwin checks the computer once more, hoping to find something new, but the message is always the same. His mother is still sleeping. Frustration sets in, and he resigns himself to the harsh reality. In his dreams, his fears take a tangible form. Night after night, he is haunted by visions of his mother leaving him behind in the bunker, breaking her promise to find a path to freedom. The next morning, while maneuvering the camera of an external tractor, something unusual catches his attention: a dog being dragged into some bushes. Before Darwin can investigate further, the team's virtual commander interrupts him, demanding he return to work. Later, during a severe storm, Darwin is awakened by a complete power outage in the bunker, plunging it into total darkness. He desperately tries to activate the emergency button, but it's no use. As days pass, the situation worsens. The computer begins to malfunction, and the oxygen levels inside the shelter start to decline. Desperate and determined to escape, Darwin ventures to open the bunker door using a respirator. However, faced with the mechanism's failure, he forces it open manually, bracing himself to face the desolate landscape left by chemical warfare. Just a few steps outside, the respirator alarm sounds, signaling a dangerous drop in oxygen levels and forcing him to retreat. Surprisingly, the door doesn't automatically close behind him, sparking a moment of panic. Darwin removes the mask, expecting the worst, but to his astonishment, he discovers he can breathe the air without filtration. Renewed by hope, he quickly gathers a few essential items and sets out to search for his missing mother, driven by the possibility of finding her. Hello, my dear friends. This is the summary of the movie, 2149, The Aftermath, Darwin. I hope you're enjoying it. Comment, great, so we know you paid close attention to every detail of the video. Now, let's continue. Every step is torment, as his body is weakened from years of confinement. Although unnerved by the sounds of birds and the relentless sun, which further drains him along with the scarcity of food, he perseveres. After some time, he comes across a communication station and attempts to call for help, but his fragile balance prevents him from standing firm. Just as his resilience begins to waver, the sound of a dog barking echoes in the distance. Motivated, he heads toward the forest, where his intuition is confirmed. The soil is no longer toxic. Exhausted, he collapses and falls asleep, but his journey was far from over. In the heart of the forest, Darwin awakens to the irritating buzz of mosquitoes and the comforting sound of a barking dog. He spots the dog's owner, a young woman named Dara, who hesitates before approaching him. Muted by years of isolation, Darwin struggles to form words but desperately tries to communicate with her. Realizing his need, Dara activates an alarm that alerts a nearby camp of survivors who had also escaped their bunkers. An older, cautious woman named Lillian notices the commotion and instructs her children to hide as she prepares to confront the stranger. She understands that Darwin is likely as frightened as they are and approaches him with a gentle voice, speaking about her home. Although Darwin comprehends her words, his ability to respond is limited to the vocabulary of a computerized system, and he cannot speak. He accepts the food Lillian offers, eating it while seated on the ground. Lillian reveals more details about her home, and Darwin communicates his understanding with a simple nod. Despite the communication barriers, he agrees to stay the night at the camp, finding solace in being surrounded by other human beings. Lillian provides a mattress for him, offering Darwin a comfort he hadn't felt in years. He convinces himself that his stay there is only temporary, as he plans to resume his search for his mother soon. During a meal, Darwin experiences tea for the first time, sitting at the table with the others. Curious about the newcomer, Lillian directs questions toward him. Stephen, noticing Darwin's struggle to respond verbally, suggests he pretend to type, allowing Lillian to read his answers. For hours, Darwin observes and experiments with this new form of communication, feeling both alienated and intrigued. In a calmer moment, Dara applies sunscreen to Darwin, which initially makes him uncomfortable, but he gradually learns to trust her. Although eager to ask about his mother, he discovers that Lillian's family has no information about her. Sensing his hesitation, Dara reassures him that he can leave whenever he wishes, but for now, resting would be best. At night, Darwin is tormented by a nightmare where he searches for his mother, but is captured by a drone that scans brains and interrogates him about the people he has encountered on his journey. After a brief moment of relief, Dara helps him take his first bath in many years. Even keeping his clothes on, she teaches him the basics of personal hygiene, offering assistance, though Lillian believes he can manage on his own. After changing into new clothes and resembling the others more closely, Dara teaches him to respond to simple questions with universal gestures. In the following days, Darwin gradually begins to recover his ability to speak and participates in household activities alongside Lillian, such as setting the table, strengthening the bond between them. Life in the camp follows its routine, unaware that a government drone is monitoring their every move. In the afternoon, Dara introduces Darwin to the basic steps of a waltz. In return, Darwin shares some dance moves he learned from video games. During a walk in the forest, Dara tells the story of her father, who defied the laws to start a new life at sea, dreaming of building a family far from the horrors of the past. As Darwin integrates more into the family, he forms a particularly strong bond with Lillian's children, especially Dara. However, Beth begins voicing her concerns about the danger Darwin might pose to all of them, especially if the government is on his trail. Lillian does her best to soothe her daughter's fears, although she is aware of the risks of harboring a fugitive. When Beth raises her concerns again, Darwin realizes she is talking about him and understands that by sheltering him, they also become targets. On a sunny day, Lillian decides to take the children on an excursion through the forest, and Darwin gets the chance to see the river for the first time. He allows himself to enjoy a peaceful swim in the wild waters and has fun with the little ones. Dara leads Darwin to the top of a mountain, where they share a deep conversation. Dara reflects on the expectations placed on parents and laments how some choose to abandon their families to start over in new places. She reveals her wish for Darwin to stay with her. At the end of the conversation, with great courage, Dara confesses her love for Darwin, convinced that they are destined to be together. They seal the moment with a kiss. Meanwhile, the rest of the family returns to the camp, singing joyfully. However, Stephen notices something suspicious and calls for silence as they quicken their pace back. During the return, Beth accidentally drops her scarf on the trail, which is promptly spotted by a drone. The drone's alert causes immediate panic, and everyone learns that the chase is imminent. Lillian, primarily concerned for the safety of her youngest daughter, manages to divert the drone's attention, allowing it to pass without noticing their presence. Back at the camp, Beth confronts her mother, blaming her for putting them at risk by taking Darwin in. Lillian tries to calm her, explaining that they will need to remain hidden for some time. When Dara enters the room to talk to Darwin, she notices his mattress is empty. Worried, she runs to the yard and quickly finds him standing there, seemingly ready to leave. Darwin turns to her and gently explains that he must go to protect everyone from the danger his presence brings. His words, though calm, carry significant weight. Overwhelmed by sadness, Dara can no longer hold back her emotions. Tears stream down her face. Darwin tries to approach and explain himself, but Dara, overcome by pain, pulls away, unable to face the moment of his departure. Without saying another word, she distances herself, heartbroken to leave the one she loves. Meanwhile, Lillian bids him farewell as Dara stays inside the camp. Darwin then reveals to Lillian that his true mission has always been to find his mother and bring her to a safe place like the one they were in, far from the bunkers. Later, Dara finds herself alone in the forest, tears flowing freely as she watches Darwin walk away. Determined, he follows the trail toward his mother's bunker, moving cautiously to avoid detection by the drones. Upon arrival, he uses the key Lillian gave him to attempt contact with his mother. Once connected, Darwin expresses his desire to reunite with her and pleads for her trust before daringly opening the bunker door. Standing before the massive iron door, Darwin knocks and reassures his mother, saying that the air outside is no longer a threat. However, the response is an eerie silence, broken only by the piercing sound of an alarm. A drone demands that Darwin identify himself and justify his presence. Thinking quickly, he fabricates a story, claiming he never left the bunker, and manages to persuade a government authority to instruct the residents to remain inside the bunker without prior authorization. With this, he convinces his mother to open the door. As the heavy iron barrier lifts, a wild and distrustful woman, marked by years of isolation, faces the son she hasn't seen in 9 years. Darwin, observing his mother's computer, realizes she had been isolated with no contact with the outside world during all that time. He accesses the system and finds records of his journey to the bunker and his stay with Lillian's family. Unexpectedly, Darwin tells his mother he must leave again. As he walks away, she calls out, asking if he had finished playing Stream Drifters. He pauses for a moment before replying that he had already reached the paradise level. With these words, he leaves, allowing her to ponder their meaning. Darwin reunites with Dara on the mountaintop, and the joy of their reunion is palpable. They share a passionate kiss, and then Darwin rejoins Lillian's family, marking a new beginning for all of them. If you like this movie, then I recommend watching this other one as well. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. See you there.